How you doing? Is Kushala the best Mystic champion in the game? So let's look at all the pros and cons when it comes to Kushala. She is going to be released as a 7-star, so that's a pro. What else? She's immune to incinerate and bleed, so she could be maybe like somewhat damage mastery friendly. What else? I think she's a good counter to cosmic champions. She has damage over time. So those are the pros when it comes to Kushala. Cons. She requires high sig. That's definitely a con. Number 2, especially if you're going to use the 7-star. 2, she seems like a one-trick pony. I'm not really a big fan of champions that are one-trick pony. I know, like, the person that's making this video will say, oh, she's not for everyone. Well, that's really like saying like only a small percentage of the people not going to use her, when in reality most people are not going to use her because she's Daddy Longlegs did create this champion, so you basically have to read a book to know her abilities. So average person is not going to spend time learning how to play her as well, because she's not going to be easy to use. So I think when it comes to like the top 1%, she's going to be really good, because they have all the champions in the game, so she can be good for Pacific matchup. But for the average player who's looking for like, that can solo entire quests by themselves, like Diablo or something like that, they're not going to want to use her because, like I mentioned, she's like a one-trick pony. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, that she's good mostly against cosmic champions, like Human Torch. Even though I'm not a big fan of Human Torch being a one-trick pony, like, could dominate like only like one class, I still think Human Torch belongs in the top 10 best science champion in the game. And I believe some people will say even top 5 best science champion in the game. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but like I mentioned, for average player, I don't think people are gonna want her because, it's like knowing her abilities is like reading a book. Another thing is like people are not going to spend time learning how to play her. She just seems like a difficult champion to use for the average player. But I do believe when it comes to like the top 1%, people are going to make use of her, and especially like, against like cosmic champions and stuff like that. So like I mentioned, I'm not a big fan because she's really not. I'm looking for champions, especially as an average player, looking for champions that can solo entire quests by themselves, like a Diablo. Diablo doesn't require that much skills. A 6-star rank 3 Diablo can pretty much, with good RNG, can solo an entire realm of legends using auto fight. Really no skills involved. Same thing with like Hercules. Hercules does require like a little bit of skills, but once you have 12 persistent charge with Hercules, there's very little skills involved with Hercules. He's going to do a lot of damage, especially with the Herald ability, once you have him ramped up. So yeah, I think she's going to be alright. She has, let me go about the pros again. She's going to be released as a 7-star. She has damage over time. She's immune to bleed and incinerate. I don't think she's like OP champion. I don't expect her to be as good as Absorbing Man, but last time I posted the title best Mystic champion in the game was Absorbing Man, and he got nerfed. But and then Kushala, she's going to be released as a 7-star, so there's a possibility that she's going to get nerfed, but I don't think, maybe not. I don't think she's as OP as Absorbing Man or something like that. She's pretty much like a one-trick pony. She's gonna be very good against cosmic champions. I'm pretty sure she will. Having damage over time is also good. When it comes to her Awaken ability, she really needs to be high sig, preferably max sig, to be able to keep those damage over time on the opponent. She definitely benefits from Mystic Dispersion. I don't know if it's necessary to have Mystic Dispersion, but it's definitely a plus having Mystic Dispersion on her. As I mentioned, if you have her max sig, she's gonna be able to do way more damage, and she's gonna be able to counter as well some skill champions. because she's gonna be able to turn some of those incinerates to passive. So they, like some cosmic champions can shrug off debuffs, and by the time she's gonna be able to what do you call that? Turn it to passive, they won't be able to shrug it off. As well as she can, shut down, what do you call this? Champions that regeneration, especially if you have despair on, 3 points in despair. And I believe that's part of her signature ability, is you want her to be, awakened and preferably at max sig. Yeah, so I think she's gonna be good. Could she possibly be nerfed? Maybe, because she's a 7-star. Not unless they release OP champions as far as Mystic champions, like Diablo, stuff like that. I could see her being one of the best Mystic champions in the game, just because she's a 7-star. I think as a 7-star, she's gonna do a lot, especially in the future if they don't release OP champions that are 7-stars, or that are currently 6-stars that are not yet 7-stars. So I do believe as a 7-star, she's gonna do a lot, but like it's gonna take a while because she does require really like high sig preferably. So she's also a good counter, like I mentioned, against cosmic champions. As you can see here, she's a good counter against Hulkling, as you can see. And with Mystic Dispersion, you can just basically constantly be able to throw heavy attacks. So she's going to be a nuke against cosmic champions, especially when you have her awakened. And she's somewhat damage mastery friendly because she's immune to bleed.